Hi everyone. I want to review a movie today, a movie that speaks to me in different ways. I saw the movie 2 days ago and I resonate so much with that movie. It made a whole lot of sense to me, even though it's a very old movie and it's also a movie that is based on true life story. So the movie speaks, I learned 4 different lessons, which I'm so grateful for. And even though some of the things I learned actually are things that I know that, emphasis will just placed on some of them. So I'm here to share 4 different things that I learned and I'm going to be sharing them based on the characters, okay? So each of these 4 people, I learned 4 different things from them. So let's dig into the movie. I'm going to be reviewing Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures is a movie that was actually based on true life story and is an old movie. I'm going to be focusing on 4 characters. We have Katrine, we have Dorothy, we have Mary, we have Harrison. So I could have talked about Paul, but not so much. I don't want this video to be so long. But I learned 4 different lessons that I feel that they are still what's happening right now. Okay. As I as I as I talk about each of the characters, I'll tell you what I learned about them. So let's go with Katrine. Katrine is the one that is so good with figures. Anything calculations, anything equation, anything arithmetic, anything at all. She's so good at it. She has a very high IQ. As a matter of fact, when she was a child, her parents had to relocate because of her. There was no school that could teach her anymore, so they had to relocate to the States just for her to get her education. So she was that intelligent, she was that smart. We have Mary, who later became Katrine's friend in the future. So let's go over to the future now. We have Katrine, we have Dorothy, we have Mary, 3 friends who are working with NASA. So in NASA, I'm going to be focusing on Harrison, who happens to be Katrine's boss. Okay, so now over at NASA, how many years ago? Like I said, is a true life story, and the movie was acted years ago. So I'm repeating this just so that so many things I'll be saying here, or so many things that was acted in the movie, just to remind us that those things do not exist anymore because lots of changes have been made. Okay, so as we progress, I'll let you know. All right, so back at NASA, then they had what they call colored, and of course, if something is not colored, then it's just there. So they had colored, and that word colored was used to refer to black people. So in that place, they have the colored people's office, they have the colored people's positions, they have the colored people's bathrooms. Everything for the colored people were different from that of the uncolored people. Okay, now, so Katrina and her friends were working there. They were all specialized in different fields. Katrina was so good with double figures, with interpretations and all of that. And then Dorothy was so good with computers, anything that has to do with computers, she was good. And then we have Mary. Mary was good with the engineering field, and Harrison is their boss. Okay, Harrison isn't necessarily Dorothy and Mary's boss, but she's their overall boss. But Catherine was the one who actually worked with Harrison closer than her 2 friends. So fast forward to when they were working there, Catherine got reassigned to the department of the uncolored people. She was the only colored person there. I'm using this word because that was the word used in the movie. She was the only colored person. Even the day she walked into the office, like all eyes were on her, like, who is this? What is this? What is she doing here? And all of that, but she didn't feel intimidated. She held her head up high, doing her job which she loved to do, because that is a skill that was given to her by God. So she was doing her job without any, no matter the intimidation she had, no matter the challenges she was facing, Catherine was still doing her job. And then over to the other side now, where we have Dorothy and Mary. They were also doing their jobs despite the challenges, also intimidation, discrimination, segregation, so many things. They were still doing their job. They were diligent at their work, doing their best that they could actually do. But there was something that stood out for me, which are the 4 things that I'm here to share today. One is they were doing their job, irrespective of how they were being treated. They were giving their best into that job. And that brings me to say that no matter what you're doing, always put in your best. Because you know why? You don't know who is watching. You really don't know. And people are really watching you. One day, somebody's going to recommend you. One day, somebody's going to call you and say, I bet she does this job well. Why not give it to her? You never can tell. Let's keep going because this thing actually played out in this movie. So let's keep going. And these 3 friends were doing their job well, diligently. However, they kept fighting for their rights. They didn't just stop. They didn't feel like, oh, they call us colored, so we're just going to remain that way. They knew that they had more to offer than they were actually offering, and they were available. They made themselves available to go that extra mile to get themselves a pick. So back to the story. Catherine was doing her job interpreting the data and all of that. And then one fateful day, there was no bathroom for the colored people in this uncolored people's part. of the office. And where the bathroom was for Catherine to use was in her former office. And it's not like it's a stone throw. It's not. She had to trek how many miles to go back to her previous office just to use the bathroom. So this is what she keeps doing. And whenever she's going to that bathroom, she'll carry her piles of work to the bathroom because she knows that once she gets there, it's going to take her time and she can't just leave her work undone. She will carry her work and be running up and down. So she didn't know that her boss is actually watching. The man kept noticing that she's usually not on seat. And he kept wondering to himself, where does this lady always go to? Until that fateful day, he asked, where is Catherine? Where does she usually go to? Her colleagues were like, she stepped out, and then she came back. And the boss asked her, when she came back, Catherine was drenched. It rained. She didn't have the cover. She was soaked in rain from her head down with the files she was carrying. So the boss was looking at her like, where are you coming from? Where have you been? She said she went to the bathroom. And the boss was like, Harrison, we went to the bathroom. We used the bathroom for 40 minutes. That was the day that Catherine said, okay, I don't think it's going to be nice for me to keep quiet anymore. I have to see what is actually going on in this office. And she burst out. There's no bathroom for her to use. The day she came in, she took coffee from the dispenser that every other person was drinking. The next day she came back to the office, they had created a dispenser for her and labeled it colored. She said everything how she felt. So one thing I noticed was the boss was not aware. He wasn't aware. He didn't know that any of that was happening in the office. He didn't have the idea. And one good thing again that we need to know is why was he looking for Catherine? Because he has been watching Catherine. Catherine does her job diligently. She will go to the board, solve the equations on the board. She's always making contributions. So her impact was felt in the building. And the man noticed her impact in the building. He came always looking for her. Do you understand? So you need to make yourself known. By your work, the work you are doing, your presence needs to be felt. That this person is present here. When you're present, they know that she's present. When you are not, they will know that you are not. Okay, not to say that you are not, nobody is indispensable. You understand, right? But because you are somebody that usually does your work diligently, you are somebody that do your work, they'll always feel your presence. And when you're not there, they know that something is missing in here. Somebody is missing. So that was it. And after Catherine saying everything that happened that day, the boss went, gave rules, nothing like that anymore in the office. He went, destroyed the label that they had given to the color people and said, this is color people that you went, use this and destroy this and give instruction. Anybody should use any bathroom that they want to use going forward. And that was that. That was how one of Catherine's problem was solved. The other problem was coming from his team lead, but I don't want to talk about that today, for now, anyway. So let's go back to Dorothy. Dorothy, like I said, she's good with computer, she's good with let's say technology and all of that. So Dorothy was acting as a supervisor. The last supervisor had left, and Dorothy became the supervisor, but it did not reflect on her appointment. She was just answering supervisor, like to fill in the position, okay, to replace the person. But Dorothy kept on, asking questions. When is this position going to reflect on her later? And, her pay also being increased and all of that. But she was told that it's not going to happen. So it was not like she was just doing a free job, but she did not stop. She didn't relent effort. She did not change her attitude to work. She was still doing her work diligently. Until one fateful day, Dorothy now learned that they were trying to build a system that would almost take over their job. So when she learned about it, she became very curious. She asked questions. This machine, what is it going to do? And what is our role when this machine is finally deployed? What is going to become of us? She was curious. And when she got all the answer that she got, Dorothy knew that it was time for she and her team to remain relevant in that organization. But how would they remain relevant? By learning the skill, by going a step further, even before that system was deployed. Dorothy took it upon herself. She went to the library. She got the books that she was supposed to get. She studied everything she was supposed to study. She stayed a step ahead of what they were doing. And as she was doing it, she was teaching her team members what she was doing. Because she told them the truth. If they build this system and we do not have these skills, we are going to be redundant and we don't need it. So when they build this system, they are going to need people who are going to run it. We are the ones that will run it. She started learning the skills. She started teaching her team members about the skills. And it didn't stop there. She had access to the data room, so she would always go there to know the new developments, what is going on, what's happening. So whatever she gets, she takes it back to her team members. She teaches them that they were always staying ahead of the system that they were building. So after that one, let's go back to Mary. So I said Mary was good in engineering. So in Mary's case now, she needed a particular certification to actually go into the core engineering that she was supposed to go into. But you know what? because she's colored, she was not able to enroll for that particular course. Why? And you know what baffled me? In the policy, there was nothing like that. But they had to go and create an addendum. You know what an addendum is? Addendum is like we're adding extra things or we are removing some things, but we cannot actually effect it in the original document. So we have to put it in the addendum. That is, I am adding this to this particular thing. It's just like an extension of something. So they went and made an addendum just so that they can make it clear to her that she's a colored person and she cannot get access. And you know one good thing again that I learned was that she had supportive friends. The three of them were supportive to themselves. So on that fateful day, they were just, having fun as friends. And Mary was just complaining, saying how she felt about the whole thing. And Dorothy was like, take it to court. Go to court. And she listened. She took her case to court so that she can get the favor of the judge to get a permit for her to enroll for the course. And which she did. She got it. And I also forgot to mention that she was prepared. She made her research and everything, prepared her speech before going to the courtroom. And she got the favor. She enrolled for that course. She was the first black or colored female to have gone to that school, to have done that course. So that was how she got her own. That was how she got her own breakthrough. Then let's go back to Dorothy. Like I said, Dorothy was already teaching herself and her team members about the new skill, the new everything. Eventually, they were able to learn it. And they deployed the system. When they deployed the system, things were moving okay at first. And because the system is here, they didn't really need so much of human contribution anymore. So they reassigned Catherine to the former place where she was now. She was no longer in the department that had reassigned her before. So she went back to her former department and they were using the system that they had deployed. But it didn't even stay up to how long things escalated. The system they built was not functioning well. And back then, the whole thing was they were trying to get somebody to the moon. So the system they had built was not working well. The data they were not corresponding. The same thing that was of yesterday is the same thing you're giving me today. What is going on? So when Harrison saw it, Harrison went to Paul, the team lead of engineering. I was like, what's going on with this data? What's going on with this report? And Paul was like, something is wrong with the system. And even before then, on that fateful day, yeah, when the man going to the moon was finally going, they called him to speak to him, preparation and what he said. He said, and this is the part that got me so well. What he said, I don't know what the machine is doing. Before, I was controlling the machine, but now it seems the machine is controlling me. Please call the lady back. Let her be the one to read the figures. They had to go back and call Catherine on demand. In fact, there's so many things I have not mentioned in this movie. I forgot to mention that Catherine kept fighting for herself. She didn't allow anybody to kill her confidence, and how she was able to convince them for her to enter one of their board meetings, a board meeting that no female has ever entered. Not to talk of a colored female. And it did not just stop there. Whenever she does her report, she would prepare it as if it's a team lead that does the report. But on that fateful day, Catherine was able to give the report that she has been doing herself. Because they asked a question. The team lead is not the one preparing this data. If you are the one that prepare your data, you would know your data now. You can talk about it anytime, any day. So when they asked a question in the board meeting, the team lead was trying to flip pages to get to the particular answer. Catherine just voiced out and gave them the answer, and everybody was looking at her like, it's not enough that you're a woman. It's not enough you're colored, and now you're speaking. Who are you? So that same day, that same meeting, they asked another question, and her boss, Harrison, told her, Catherine, please, could you go to the board and explain this? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So let me just sum all of it. No, I can't sum it up without saying one thing. So when Dorothy had learned all of the skills and it was time for her skill to play, they needed her. She got the role as a supervisor. Good and fine. Then they reassigned Dorothy. When they reassigned Dorothy, Dorothy said, I'm not going. What will happen to my team members? If you people need me, then you would need me, not just me, but I'm going to bring all my team members to where I'm going. When relevance meets preparation, like when you know that you are prepared, you are relevant, they need you. You'll be the one making the rules. You'll be the one giving them what you want. She said, you can take your offer, but if my people are not coming with me, I'm not coming. They needed only one person, but she was able to carry more than 10 people. They needed only one person, but Dorothy was able to carry more than 10 people to that new department that she was going to. And that is that for her. Then in conclusion, what gladdened my heart was on the day that the person was finally going to the moon, they requested for Catherine. Like I said, the man said, if Catherine is not there, if Catherine doesn't read the figures, I'm not going. Catherine read the figures, gave the interpretation, went to the room. On that fateful day, Catherine entered the control room. You know when they say control room, like when they say control room, you can relate to what I mean. The central control room. She entered it. She did not just enter, she made input. So, very quickly, what are the 4 things that I learned? Although I've tried to talk about them, but the 4 things I learned is 1, do your work diligently. Somebody is watching you. No matter how you've been treated, do not lower your standard because of how people treat you. If you know you can't cope there, good and fine, you can move. But do not lower your standard because of somebody else. Do not lower your diligence because of somebody else. Do not lower your honesty because of somebody else. Somebody is watching, and when the time is right, you are going to be recommended or you are going to be heard. That is one. Number 2 is be confident. Set boundaries for yourself. Don't allow people to intimidate you, but be guided. Know when to speak. Know when to stand up for yourself. Know when to say clearly that you're being bullied. Know how to differentiate someone bullying you and someone being there for you or commanding you that you should respect them. Know the difference between being bullied. Okay? Then, number 3, I must say, stay relevant. No matter what you do, stay relevant. If the world is moving, move with the world. I always believe that, or maybe now, I've started learning things. Maybe before I didn't learn it, but now I've been learning that change, we are the ones that are actually supposed to call change and say, come, let me assess you. Which part of you do I need in my life and which part don't I need? Rather than the change coming to us when we don't have any choice anymore, it's as if we don't have a choice anymore. We are just taking it because, we are being hooked up right now. There is no solution anymore than to embrace it. You wouldn't have time to sit down and analyze that change and say, which part of you do I need in my life? Which part of you don't I need? So when the world is moving, move with it. Stay relevant. Learn new skills. Learn the ones that are pertinent to what you are doing, that are very important. Learn them. Filter the change that are coming. Filter it and take the one that you need. Adaptability is part of human life, so you need to go with it. And then another thing I learned is sometimes people at the top, they actually try their best to make sure that the rules and the standards that they have set are being followed. But how can they? They can't be everywhere. You don't expect them to be everywhere. So most times, it's even people at your level, the people that you relate to, they are the ones that are suppressing you. They are the ones who make it look as if, this company hates me, or this one does this, or this one does that. Because if you see that movie, you would realize that Harrison did not have any issue. Harrison was not watching so many things. Once he hears of anything, he makes sure he fixes it. But if it doesn't come to his attention, how is he going to fix it? So do you understand? It was people at the level that Katrina was operating that were intimidating her. She and her friends and so many other people that were intimidated. So these people at the top, we also need to give them credit. Some of them tried their best to fix their system, to set things right. But people who they have given the order to go and execute it, they go and do anything that they like. Okay? So I'm going to end here. I hope I've covered everything that I'm supposed to cover or everything that I'm supposed to have said in this episode. This is my first review of any movie, and I love that movie so much. I don't know what happened. The movie just popped up in one of my social media pages, and I was like, I'm gonna see this movie. And when I said, this movie is an old movie. It's not even a new movie. So please, if you haven't seen that movie, go and see it. You will like it. And when you're seeing the movie, don't remove the whole colored and uncolored stuff from your mind, because first of all, it happened years ago, and we are not in that era anymore. Things have changed. Let me use the word I was using in the movie. A lot of colored people are in different continents doing well right now. So a lot of things have changed. So remove that perspective from your mind. Just watch the movie, see the movie, and learn what you can learn from it. Embrace it. Watch it with an open mind, with an open heart. Okay? That is when you'll be able to learn something very important. You can't see that movie and not learn something. Go and see it. You will enjoy it. Bye.